Today we're going to talk about being alone in the Philippines. You definitely need friends here in the Philippines. I don't think you want to be alone. I met a few guys in Loag that live by themselves. One of them has a girlfriend, but she doesn't live with him, and he's, pushing 80. He smokes a lot, so he has one of those oxygen tanks he carries around with him. He gets around pretty good, but when he gets sick, he usually has to go down to Manila because the hospital up here can't handle him. I don't even think he wants to go to the hospital up here. So that's one reason you really don't want to be alone in the Philippines. You have to be careful here. You're not at home. You're not with family. If you get sick, you want somebody around to call the hospital, take you to the hospital. You should have friendships and a support system here. I mean, you should definitely have somebody in your wallet not even in your phone because people can't access your phone, but a number in your wallet that if somebody finds you passed out, they could call that number. And you're going to want to get health insurance. I've spoke about health insurance before. I have a plan A and a plan B for myself. I have enough money in the bank where I could pay for most medical expenses, but when I do move here full time, I'm going to get a full health insurance policy. There's an insurance company here called Pacific Cross that for I think about $1,000 a year, a little more, you get $30,000 in coverage, and $30,000 in coverage. That's dollars, not pesos. Is going to cover you for about anything you need here. If it's more than that, then you're probably in trouble. I mean, another reason you want to have friends here, I know there's a lot of guys who are loners. I myself am an introvert. But you want to have friends here because loneliness is a real issue around the world. I mean, especially in the US right now, there's a lot of lonely men, but loneliness even here, there's expats that, they just want to be alone. They live alone, which is fine. But loneliness, it's proven that loneliness could lead to an early death. So you want to have friends. I mean, it's not that hard to make friends here. There's an expat community you can make friends with. Not so much up here in the north where I live, but like, for instance, I was at the gym today. The guy who owns the gym, he's in his 40s, Siegfried. He's a friend of mine. My landlord's kind of a friend of mine, and my girlfriend and her brothers are my friends, and her sister. So, I have a network of people around me. I think you want to have a network of people if you're here. And then, of course, you have those emergency numbers. My sister in the US is one for me. I leave one of my debit cards with her with a certain amount of money in that bank account. So, and, I leave her the PIN number and I tell her, if I have an emergency and you need to get a certain amount of money out, there's this much money in this account that you can pull out for me. Of course, you only want to do that with somebody you trust. Here in the Philippines, I have my girlfriend who I completely trust now, but obviously not everybody has that. You're not going to have somebody you trust right off the bat. My sister and I discussed this actually this time before I left. Our mom passed away a few years ago, and luckily she had a will. But my sister and I were talking about, that I should get a will. She said she was currently making a will. She's just a year older than me, and I've been thinking about that a lot. I think you want to have a will to leave, even if you don't have that much stuff. You want to have a will to leave your stuff to somebody. I'm still thinking about it, who I'm going to put on the will. I mean, if I marry my girlfriend here, she would obviously be one of them, but then other people in my family. And the main reason you want to do that is if you do happen to pass away or something happens to you, you die in a motorcycle crash, which could easily happen here. I've discussed that a bunch. Or, God forbid you have a heart attack, stroke, anything like that, where you can't, you can't control your own stuff anymore. Your mind doesn't work. You get dementia or something like that. Then you need like a trustee. I think that'll probably be my sister for me, but so everybody needs a person like that. Because like I said, even if you don't have a lot of stuff, there could be battles over your stuff. And if there's uncertainty to where your stuff's going to go. Like if you don't have a will notarized in a safety deposit box or left with somebody like a lawyer or a family member, then when you die, somebody, you don't even know could, or you hardly know, could come over here, whether, clean up the body and say, hey, yeah, that's my boyfriend, and, start taking your stuff. You have to be careful. So to avoid conflict, it's good to have a will or something at least written on paper. I just read something recently about Aretha Franklin. I think she died, 5 or 6 years ago, but she had like 3 or 4 sons, I think, and they were fighting over her will. And she had 2 wills, one that she left with a lawyer and the other one she left in her couch, and they ended up determining that the one that was left in her couch was the more recent one, in the couch cushion. And they were able to work it out, but I think it went on for like 5 years, and the brothers all hate each other now because they were fighting over the money, because once money gets involved, people get crazy. So you definitely want to have a will. So yeah, you are going to get sick. That's definitely going to happen, especially if you're an expat here and you're retiring. I mean, you're older, your immune system's not what it was. I already had a fungal infection that I spoke about, and this year, about a month and a half ago, it wasn't a big deal, but I got some kind of bacterial infection that gave me a fever on and off for a few days. I mean, I didn't even have to go to the doctor for it. I just kind of self-diagnosed. But bacterial infections, fungus, because of the tropical climate here, are really common. So you have to watch out for that, and it's probably going to happen to you. Even if you have a good immune system, which I do, you could get COVID here. All kinds of stuff could happen. COVID's probably not as common here as it is in the US. There's a bunch of people I know that have COVID in the US right now. Some good friends of mine that I work with, volunteers that work with me that are in their 70s, they both have COVID. My niece, who's only 20, 21, she's been bedridden with COVID for 2 weeks. People do get it here, but it's not as common. But like I said, there's a lot of bacterial infections you get from, you just go swimming in the wrong water here and you can get some kind of crazy bacteria. Not to mention stuff that you get from like mosquitoes, dengue fever. That's common here. I mean, not as common up north here, but down by Cebu, I mean, especially kids and older people suffer from it. More kids, I think. But I had a friend who was in his prime, when we were both whitewater kayakers traveling around the world, and he was here. I think it was in Mindanao, but he got dengue fever, and even though I think he was 25, 26, 27 at the time, very healthy guy, he almost died from it. So, I mean, there's a lot of stuff you get here. So you're going to get sick in the Philippines eventually, probably. So to have a good healthcare insurance and not be alone, you don't want to be alone in your house when something goes wrong, or at least have somebody close by, a neighbor, a friend. You got to have friends. I mean, there's the expat community. There's a lot of communities here. Guys die here all the time, and they're found alone in their house. I've heard about it happening a few times. I heard from another YouTuber that they found a guy, and his house was hot and his body was roasting there for a while, and it was pretty disgusting. And I've heard of another guy having a heart attack in the province, and it took them a few days to find him. So you definitely don't want to be alone in the Philippines. Anyway, that's my message on that for today. Don't be alone in the Philippines. I'll see you guys on the next video.